Light the fuse. Bring the boom. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go ignite. Light the fuse. Light the fuse.
Dynamite. Just like watching TNT. Hello, I am Gary YouTube, joined by yet another Gary YouTube, and doing another slice of Gary YouTubing, this time in the form of a tier list ranking malarkey, where we're going to get a bit kinky, a little bit divisive, a little bit saucy, a little bit of sparse on the tier list as we look at defections from WWE over to AEW. They crossed the line. TNA, they crossed the divide, all that kinds of stuff. So here we go. Hit the intro, please, Sam. So just in case you haven't been here before, we have several tiers ranking from the best to lovely, 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 to middle of the road, all right, to just about bearable, and finally get in the bin. We are going to be putting the superstars turned professional wrestlers. Oh, it feels weird saying that, doesn't it, when it's all a wrestler saying it, yeah. Sports entertainment, boo. Professional wrestling, yeah. We're going to be putting them in there just based on what they've done in AEW alone. And crucially, we haven't got people who were there from the ground up with AEW. This is people who have been in WWE, seen AEW rise up from the ashes of many different phoenixes, and then have jumped over and started a career there.
Yeah.
Is that clear? Are we all clear?
It's not going to be Cody Rhodes.
No.
It's not going to be any of those lads.
Not Pac, not Jake Hager, not Dustin, not people like that. People who have seen AEW happen and then hopped over and then started a career there for themselves.
There are a few that have surprised me, but are still technically correct as well, so that's pretty good.
Yes, that's such a surprise here on the tier as well. So first of all, we have Conti. What are you thinking?
Well, she's definitely having a better time now in AEW than she was in NXT.
I've realised I said her name wrong.
Ty Conti. Definitely having a better time now than she was. I don't think she's yet reached full, like where she'll end up eventually. I think she's really promising. She's had a few really exciting matches, but I think recently she's cooled off a little bit. So it's not top tier.
No.
It might be, for me, I'm thinking either lovely, 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 or all right.
I reckon just in comparison to other people on this tier list ranking thing, it's going to be top of all right for me, Jeff.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of, we've scratched the surface with Ty Conti, but there's certainly more to come. It's a weird one to start with because, of course, she was in the Performance Centre for so long. She was just used here and there on NXT for so long. She's hopped over the divide. We need to stop saying that and feeding into the tribalism stuff. She left WWE, and then, she signed with a new company who was around at the time. And she's been very, very good on Dark, on Elevation and shows like that. Just having good wrestling matches, kicking people in the face and dancing while doing so.
Yes, absolutely. And she went to the same school as former Liverpool midfielder Philippe Coutinho. Yeah.
Wow.
They were pals. The picture made me feel like they would have been the cool kids, though.
Definitely the king and queen of the prom.
Exactly.
Is that what how to do it?
I think so. In Brazil, yeah.
Aye.
But I think that even in NXT, even though she wasn't in the big featured matches and stuff, even though she wasn't maybe as good as some of the women in there, she always had a spark. She always had a little bit of charisma. She always had a little bit of... She'd always do something during her entrance where I was like, she's doing, as AJ Styles would say, the little things.
The little wins.
And you could tell that she was going to be good. And I think she's still very young. So
there's still plenty of way to go. And of course, the stuff with -1 and all that stuff is just bloody wholesome content, isn't it?
Really
so I reckon it's a fair place to put it in all right, but more to come from Ty Conti in AEW. Next up, we're moving on to one of the more headline names on the tier list ranking malarkey today. We have Andrade El Idolo.
Not done a lot yet.
Not done a lot yet, no. I hated the debut.
You hated it?
I hated it. Hate is a strong word, but it's how I feel.
I think I know why, but why did you hate it?
Because it was just sort of shoehorned into the middle of the sort of show. It wasn't much of a big deal. Yes, they were banking on the sort of, whoa, my God, it's him. There he is. But the fact he got cut off by Matt Sydal as well, and just the sort of, the semantics, is that the right word? The impression you get of Matt Sydal in AEW. I thought it wasn't the right sort of person to be cutting off Andrade on his debut.
Yeah. And also, I think they could have maybe done a debut with a few more fireworks. Maybe he could have ran in, unmasked, anything.
Just having Vicky go sort of, excuse me, I've got something to say here. There's Andrade, by the way. I thought it could have been a lot more. Yeah,
it could have been a lot more. But we saw that happen with Rusev. He was Kip Sabian's best man. Everyone was like, are you sure? This is a bit strange. And then after a few months of comedy that people weren't really on board with, now He's having great matches. He's the TNT champion. So I think the same will happen with Andrade, hopefully.
We are still in that slow burn phase. The best man phase that might be known from here on out.
Maybe. This is going to go out before All Out, right?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Because I think he could really... that could be the match with Pac that elevates...
Yeah.
That could steal the show.
Yeah, so what's he done so far? So far, him and Chavo have just derailed Death Triangle's route from the airport to the arena on multiple occasions. Do you know what a limo is?
Yeah.
Of course you don't. You're from the northeast of England.
Oh, sorry. No.
That's what they say, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go just about bearable, because the best thing I think about Andrade so far in AEW is the fact that he's been allowed to speak more often, which has introduced us to this sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? This sort of like flamboyant, laid back, hey, I'm Andrade.
Yeah.
So sarcastic and so wanky.
We need more of that in WWE.
Yeah, he's such a tosser, but he's such a tosser who you can appreciate as well.
Yeah.
So I'll go just about bearable.
There's the seed of something.
Yeah.
The seedling.
He's currently the best man, but he will be the groom.
Yeah.
Maybe just after All Out. Next up, we're going on a bit of a heartbreaking tale, because it's FTR, who, as we're sat here today, just to date this one, it's the 26th of August as we're sat here today. I think it was today, wasn't it, when Dax put on his Twitter, Cash Wheeler put on his Twitter that his career could be over with the arm injury he sustained in that tag team match where he sort of came down off the turnbuckle and ripped his arm open. He shared the picture of his arm, so hopefully it isn't the end for FTR. But if it is going to be the end of FTR, they've had a really topsy-turvy time in AEW.
Very much so. And it's made me hate the Young Bucks. Because when they brought FTR in, I was a naive little boy. I thought, you know what, the Young Bucks aren't going to be so arrogant as to have this feud. Who's the best tag team in the world? We've been waiting for this for years. I didn't think they'd win the first match. And then when they won the first match, I still thought FTR will get those belts back. And it just hasn't really panned out that way.
No, it hasn't.
On the plus side, they've had some fantastic matches with pretty much every team in AEW. So I can't knock them for what they've been able to do in the ring. I just think they should have been... Well, I think the reign should have been longer, probably, and I think that the Bucks shouldn't have beaten them.
Yeah.
But I'm very biased. I prefer FTR to the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I love the debut as well of FTR with the truck coming in there and stuff. I love that aesthetic with the old-fashioned truck. I like the partnership or the tandem or the trio, with Big Tully. That's worked wonders, and all the sort of harking back to the sort of Four Horsemen and all the little bits like JJ Dillon's turned up and stuff like that. So how they've been paying homage to the past has been very nice. Dax Harwood, especially when it comes to promos, has been absolutely fantastic. He's a proper throwback from the 80s, that man.
His match with Jungle Boy was superb. Dax Harwood, if he was just a singles wrestler, I think would be remembered as like an Arn Anderson or something. Oh, yeah. Like, I know I'm not saying Arn Anderson's underrated, but like maybe he is a bit underrated.
Maybe he is, yeah.
And I think Dax is of the same...
A wrestler's
mold.
wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. But people were starting to recognise it, though. So it's a real shame that this has happened at this time. And I hope that Cash Wheeler's all right, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
But secondly, I hope that his career can continue, because they're really good.
They are.
Just very, very good.
They are.
It's hard to know where to place them, though.
Do we just it's hard one to put in just in terms of like the relativity to other people on the tier list already, because it's definitely a stage above Ty Conti's run so far in AEW. But in terms of what maybe it's our fault for expecting too much as professional wrestling fans.
Possibly, but they hyped it. Not just them. I mean, AEW hyped it as well. I think lovely, but not so much. They're a little way off top tier because of those losses. So next up we have Brodie. We've got to put Brodie in here because, of course, you had the big debut just at the start of the lockdown era, the pandemic era of AEW, of course, being revealed as the Exalted One in the corridor. Then we go on the sort of skits that turned from a definite sort of Vince McMahon parody into a character of its own on being the elite and stuff like that. The big match against Cody, which I think was the year anniversary. This week, I think I'm right in saying that, as we're sat here, obviously on the 26th of August 2021. I think that a year ago this week he smashed Cody to smithereens. It's a shame that Cody came back. What happened there, but of course it has to happen because it's Cody Rhodes. It started off a bit on rocky sort of grounding for me, but when it got going it was fantastic, and it's another case, maybe potentially like Cash Wheeler, of what might have been. Yeah,
because it was 100%. Certainly gathering momentum in the Dark Order and all stuff like that.
I feel like with Brodie though, I think we've got to put him top tier.
Why not?
Because that win over Cody, I know that it was painted as like this horrible villain's beaten Cody, but everyone was really jubilant. Everyone was like, yes, he's done it.
And it was a shock as well seeing Cody completely flattened like he was, and it added so much to Brodie's sort of his steam, his momentum, as they like to say in the wrestling and AEW. So anything else on Brodie?
Didn't he have the match with Moxley where they crashed through the stage?
Yes,
was that him?
Yes.
Fantastic match as well. Yeah, everything he did in AEW was leagues ahead of what he did or what he was allowed to do in WWE.
It's what we were saying for so many years. It's like you've got a main event guy right there. Obviously we didn't know how good he was at promos and whatnot in WWE, but certainly the look and how he trimmed himself down when he was in WWE and when he became a bludgeon brother, and just we all saw how good he was, and it was a shame to see that sort of that good run happen in AEW then be cut short for what happened as well. It's a bloody shame. So I reckon best here. Why the hell not? Next up, we're going on to Jon Moxley, who I know you might be saying, Ross, you're not going to go people who've been with AEW since the incarnation, the genesis of the company. But he made his debut at Double or Nothing. We were there. I screamed, "It's Ambrose!" because I didn't know what to say. I forgot his name was Jon Moxley for a second there. But I think he left WWE in January of 2019. AEW, as we all know, was formed, in kayfabe terms, I guess, on being the Elite on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day of 2019. So I reckon he counts, basically. So... Yeah, I think he does as well. I think he does. And if he does, we might be looking at another top tier. It's a top tier one.
This isn't necessarily compared directly to how... Because in WWE, he was a main eventer for a lot. He was in The Shield. He's going to go down as one of the biggest WWE stars of the 2010s.
It's the tone, isn't it?
But what he's done in AEW has also been of a very high standard, without the downsides, I think, that he had in WWE. So the tone as well, We've heard his interviews where he says that Vince McMahon always saw him as the goofy one, the sort of, he's not, he's a little a chip short of a Happy Meal, that sort of guy. But in AEW, he's just he's a badass, isn't he? He really
is.
He's
a badass who just takes names and cashes checks and takes his wife to Times Square in New York and has his merry way with her.
Did you think, by the way... Did you think, by the way, that on as we record this now, last week on Rampage, do you think Moxley was feeling a little bit like, because obviously Punk came out, everyone went crazy. Moxley cut a promo later on where he was inexplicably furious about the match he was about to have with Daniel Garcia. He's like, I'm going to kill him.
It's because he's on about like the top tier status. He needs to prove himself why he's among. I guess the arrival of Punk is like, I guess they're sowing the seeds maybe for a match down the line if Punk's came in and everyone's like, oh my God, it's the return of the Messiah and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, I carried the company through the pandemic era, didn't I?
That'll be a good feud.
I'm a top tier star, just like CM Punk is.
Email Cody Rhodes with that storyline.
He watches these, of course. Cody does. Yes, he's a big fan.
Moxley top tier then.
Yeah, he definitely top tier. You go from the matches to the promos. Just the general tone of the Jon Moxley character versus what Dean Ambrose became and what he could have been. Because Dean Ambrose could have been this, but he wasn't. And it baffles the mind as to why.
They almost made him it, and they kept sort of pulling him back. And I don't understand why.
Yeah.
He won the belt, and then that feud with AJ, and then they were like, let's chuck James Ellsworth with it. Just there was always something.
Yeah.
I thought he was really promising when he turned heel, and then he started messing about with syringes.
Then he became a Tory.
He became a Tory.
You dirty, unwashed masses. You all smell.
That promo was so out of context. So strange.
So out of character. But anyway, there we go. Jon Moxley, definitely a top tier run in AEW so far. It's cooling down a bit now, but I reckon it'll ramp back up. That's a feud I want to see now.
He's just having fun with, at the minute, I think Kojima's his next opponent. He's just having matches that he's wanted to have.
Deranged old man. Coming over here, taking our jabs. Basically what the feud is, isn't it? Maybe, I don't know. Next up, we have the Good Brothers, who, of course, have come over to AEW as part of the sort of working relationship with Impact Wrestling. They're still, somehow, the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. That's going on for a while now, isn't it?
A little bit.
That's going on for a while.
They're having the best fun.
They are. They're not really there doing much on AEW. No. They just come round with their pals Don, Kenny, Matt and Nick and Brandon. They stand in the background. They put on some funny clothes and they just have a good time. I see them on Being the Elite speaking about ejaculation a lot.
Say rude things on the way to the ring.
We can't repeat them here, otherwise we'll get demonetized, but they certainly enjoy ejaculation.
Yes. You know what? I think I was going to say just about bearable, but I'm tempted to bump them up to all right, maybe.
What's making you say that?
I don't know, just because they're having the best fun.
They are having fun. I guess it's nice to see them having fun after what they...
Maybe that's not justification enough.
No, I think it's been a bit like, why are they there?
Okay.
No, maybe not why are they there, because they do add to the package. Obviously, Gallows is massive, and Anderson is a poo-eating heel, isn't he?
Yeah.
The poo-eating heel. So they do add to the sort of, the look of the what they call now, the super elite? The elite? Is it just the elite? Is it super elite?
The invisible hand of Don Callis. I don't know.
They do add to that package, but in terms of what they're actually doing, they're not actually doing much, are they? They're just sort of there.
They're dressing. They're garnish.
They're garnish.
Good garnish.
They are. They're mustard. No, not mustard. They're mayonnaise. Which ties into the ejaculation, I guess.
Okay.
Mayonnaise. So I'll cut. Yeah, mayonnaise is nice, but in this instance, mayonnaise is just about bearable for me.
Okay, fair enough.
They've done some things. They've done. Is it repetitive? Is that the right word? They come out, they beat someone down, they go home.
Yeah, maybe it is. I agree that I don't want to see them just stop or disappear because it adds to the whole package.
Yeah.
But as a unit themselves, yeah, just about bearable.
And I'm thinking of matches that they've had which are sticking out in my mind, and I'm not thinking of much.
No, not a lot.
No, so there we go. Next up, we have someone who has had a very, very, very frustrating career in AEW so far. It's got going, then it stopped for one reason, then it got going, then there was the pandemic, then it got going again, and now it's just sort of teetering along at a kind of steady pace. We have Shawn Spears of the Pinnacle. What are you saying when you hear the name Shawn Spears?
I think he gets a bad rap, because he does his job. He does what he's meant to do.
He loses. He's the one who loses.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the lackey, isn't he? He's the mini boss of the Pinnacle. I forgot their name there. And also, you know, he does well. He had a great match recently against Sammy Guevara. He's still got a great match in his locker. It's just that unfortunately he's always the one taking the pin in tag matches, being annoying. Like if you're getting behind a superstar, a wrestler in AEW, and you're like, I can't wait to see who they feud with next, and then Shawn Spears comes along and hits him with a chair, you're like, don't want to feud with Shawn Spears. Yeah,
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it got going with the chair initially. He was the chairman for a bit.
That was good.
Then he got the glove, and the chair ended because of something. I forget what it is at the time of recording. Then the glove thing got going, and then that stopped, and then the fan recruitment thing got going, and then do you remember that when he had people sending videos? Then that stopped, and now he's just sort of as we say, the lackey of the Pinnacle, who is there merely to take the pinfalls because we need to protect FTR, we need to protect MJF, we need to protect Wardlow.
There was a cool moment in the Stadium Stampede where he was in that room of chairs. But then
was that a cool moment, was it?
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
I thought it was belonged on a stage in Broadway, that scene
did.
It
was very... And then he used just one chair.
He started dancing like La Parka, though, so I guess paying homage to the greats.
I think he does. It's not his fault because I do think he's a really good wrestler, but the way he's been booked, I think, leaves a bit to be desired. If he'd just beaten Cody in their first match, he could have been on a very different path.
Yeah, he did have a good moment with the chair, though, which we've seen lots written about and lots spoken about how it went wrong.
He did go wrong,
but also very right as well.
Yeah, in a way, it made him look vicious.
Yeah, I don't know where to go. It's such a weird one because I'm just as we're sitting here being divisive and tribal about they left the one company to go to the other one. When he was in the other company, we're thinking, what could be? He's so underutilized, but he's hopped over, and then that's not really been proven wrong so far, is it?
It's a shame. I think just about bearable though. I don't think he's in the bin for me.
Are
you thinking bin?
No, definitely not bin. But I'll go just about bearable. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
Malakai.
I've just thought another thing about Shawn Spears, which has definitely solidified him in just about bearable for me. He lost a squash match to Dustin Rhodes where he pulled his pants down and stuff.
Yes, and he had a little picture of Tully on his winky.
Yeah.
Yes, or was it his bum? His bum or his winky? Who knows, eh? Funny stuff all the same. Malachi Black, next up, who debuted in AEW by hoofing Arn Anderson in the face. And then we had the feud with the god-awful graphics where Malachi Black was sort of the dark portion of the screen like he was from hell. And then Cody had angelic lighting and he was dressed in white like he was God. Sent from above to save us from the tyranny of Malachi Black.
And of WWE.
Yes.
Cody is, as JBL always wanted to be, a wrestling god. Malachi Black's doing well. He battered Cody. We don't know yet what's going to happen.
I'm scared, Jack. I'm
Tom
terrified.
Campbell and me have been... he's been making my life a living hell every day in the office. He's got that little xylophone and he'll play Cody's theme tune on it and go, Jack, way, that's your boy. He's going to come back and he's going to squash and bury Malachi Black. And I say, no, I don't think he is. I think Malachi Black's going to beat him again. Unfortunately, I'm starting to worry that Tom might be right.
I'm terrified because, of course, Malachi could have just left the boot alone. If he left the boot alone, he's wiped out Cody Rhodes and it's over. It's gone. But now he's taken that bloody boot. He's left the carrot dangling. The carrot that Cody wants to suckle on. And no doubt Cody will suckle on that carrot because Cody is everyone's hero and there's nothing we could do about it.
Okay, right. But for now, as we record this, Malachi Black's doing really well.
Really well.
Just recently, this week, he booted on again and booted his son.
And in the nads.
And because on was wily. He blocked the Black Mask. Have you ever seen
like
anyone
a Jedi, wasn't he?
I couldn't believe it.
Aye.
I thought it was great. And then he booted him in the balls and then hit him with a proper one. I thought it was class.
It's been so good so far. The presentation as well. I love the entrance with the little things on the Tron and the antlers and all that sort of stuff. It's been good so far.
Have you heard the wails of despair during his entrance music?
Aye,
it's very
that
disturbing.
band.
Okay.
We've got that weird...
Sam will know.
Yeah, Sam will know. Put them on the screen, Sam. There they are.
Yeah, I think he's definitely lovely, but not quite done enough yet.
Scratching the surface.
But it's
if Cody comes back and Malachi just properly wipes him out,
casket match,
then he's top of the best tier for me. Top of the best tier.
Yeah.
Mark Henry next up. One of the most shocking defections, if you want to say defections, from the E to the EW. From the E to the U. That's good, isn't it? Yes. I've lost my trail of thought. Mark Henry. He's on a backstage interviewer sort of role now, a commentator. He's doing all this kind of stuff. Will he wrestle again? He says he wants to. Do you want to see it?
More than I want to see him do what he's currently doing, which sounds horrible, but he's not added anything for me yet.
There's that bit when on the Punk's debut episode of Rampage where he's like, and now it's time for the main event. I was like, come on, Mark, don't be so stereotypical in your role backstage. Do some razzmatazz, some pizzazz, some razzle-dazzle.
He played it a bit too straight,
bit too safe, bit too stereotypical, like he's watched on YouTube. I'm
surprised, because we've seen Mark Henry, the retirement promo and all that. We've seen him, he can talk. He really can, and I don't know what's going on right now. Yeah. So I'm hoping that someone does provoke him out of retirement, and he does batter them. I hope it's
QT Marshall. And he wipes QT Marshall out good and proper as well.
Yeah.
Because after QT Marshall beats Paul White, now he's got to be Paul White. I don't know where to put Mark Henry. It's a weird one. Because what he's done so far, I don't think that's going to be his final form in AEW. But what he's done so far has been a tad sort of like...
Yeah.
But he is, I guess, just to go back to the commentary thing, the backstage interviewer thing, don't like him there at all. But the commentary thing, it's hard because there's about 17 million commentators on Rampage.
About to say, I felt bad for him on commentary in the debut Rampage episode, especially because you had Jericho on commentary as well, who was just... He took it to a level... He was shouting the whole show. So, I think bearable then.
We'll go bearable.
All right.
We're just scratching the surface of Kane. I keep saying that phrase, but it's true, isn't it? 2.0. Who got released from NXT and then very quickly rocked up on Dynamite. I was shocked to see them there so quickly.
Right, so I'm going to just I'm going to be an indie boy now, right?
You go.
I remember 2.0. I remember watching maybe slightly old videos of 2.0 on YouTube when they were doing promos in Chikara. And they were really funny. They were a very funny tag team. Remember when... Oh, who was it? You remember when Slapjack and his tag partner... What were they called again?
Slapjack and Mace?
TM61.
Oh, TM61.
Yes.
Shane Thorne and the other guy.
Yeah. He's gone to New Japan?
He has got New Japan, yeah.
They did like a rip-off of it in NXT. They did like a funny... And people said, oh, you're trying to be like the best friends, and they're making deliberate mistakes and leaving them in the promo and stuff. It felt a little bit like 2.0 to me as well. Very comedic tag team. Then obviously, as Ever Rise, not only did they have a stupid name, but just didn't really do anything. They were doing some sort of backstage. They were doing these backstage skits before they got released. Shortly before
they were doing the YouTube show on a Saturday morning. I think it was on their own, like not even on WWE's social media platforms. I think it was on their own sort of YouTube channel, which would then get shared by WWE. But it was very weird how the NXT careers went because they weren't used for ages after being assigned to much fanfare from the indie boys and girls and everyone else in the world of professional wrestling. And then just at the end there, they were just jobbers, weren't they? They would rock up, Matt Lee, or whatever his old name in NXT was. He would cut these very 80s cocaine promo, I like to call them, because it's very shades of Randy Savage with a tongue and the wide mouth and
he's got a very good face for it, though.
Yeah. Very good cocaine face.
Yeah.
A wonderful natural ability to have. A wonderful cocaine face.
Absolutely. Matt Jackson's got it as well. I think that... Oh, I wasn't implying anything.
Oh, right, I thought you were.
No, I'm just saying that Matt Jackson's got a face. Anyway, now it really seems like I am. I've never known of any wrestler partaking any substances ever. Ever. So I think they're bearable for me because they're doing a different shtick at the minute. They're just being heels and minions for this Daniel Garcia, who looks very promising himself.
Yeah.
But I want to see 2.0 get a little bit more to do.
I want to see a feud against best friends. So I imagine the hours and hours of backstage fun we could have there. Yeah. And then more fun in the squared circle. I love Matt Lee's promos though. 80s cocaine promos, as Matthew said on whatever video it was way back in the day. Yeah. Need to make a comeback. Maybe just without the cocaine though. But if you can do it naturally, all the more power to you.
Yeah.
Next up we have Miro. As we were saying earlier, the best man phase went on for quite some time. We're wondering, oh my God, what the hell are they doing with Rusev, who could have been one more of those cases, so much more than he was in WWE. But since, I think it was on purpose, wasn't it? The best man phase, just to sort of dampen expectations
because
and then bring them right back
They
up.
were bringing in all these guys, and they'd all run into Moxley and lose. And I don't think they wanted that to happen to Miro.
Yeah.
So maybe it was on purpose. And in fairness to Miro and Kip Sabian, the blow-off was phenomenal. The Arcade Anarchy match against the Best Friends, Chris starting to popping out of the machine, that was all really good. But the real good stuff's now for me.
Yeah, this is what I used to love about Rusev back in the days. The fact he was an arse-kicking machine, a wrestling machine, but he was also very lovable in what he would say. He's just a very easy-to-like professional wrestler who was also scary and could rip your head off.
Yeah. I think he's maybe even being a bit more of a heel now than he was in WWE.
Oh yeah, he's better than Rusev was, I think.
Right.
At Rusev's peak, when Rusev was dropping the little bits in, not so much on the head as like, I am here because I'm God's favourite champion, I've got a flexible wife and big muscles. It wasn't quite as on the head as that. Yeah, I think he's got to new heights, me.
Yeah. He's less, you know, when who called themselves, someone called themselves something and he went, well, I don't call myself Handsome Rusev, but I am. That was really funny.
Yeah.
But now he's just saying stuff and proving it, and he's God's favourite champion. So, are you thinking that...
I'm thinking best,
Are you thinking the early stuff knocks him down one?
Maybe. But then if we're going to convince ourselves it was on purpose, it's worked, hasn't it?
It's all part of the package, yeah.
It's all part of the master plan, as Oasis sang about once upon a time.
What a tune.
It is a big song. Arguably the best song of all time. What do you think?
The best song of all time, or their best song?
Their best song.
It's up there. It's top five for me.
Definitely
top
the conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Half the World Away. Lovely tune.
it is a nice tune. The Royal Family, not the Queen, but the other one.
The sitcom. Yeah.
My arse. The package as well was completed for me with Big Mikey Ruckus changing that god-awful original theme he had. He's the best. He's the best man. To whatever terrifying bit of music he's gave him now, because that just makes him all the more intimidating, all the more impressive, all the more powerful, all the more godly.
Yeah. I'm fully agreed. Yeah, you've convinced me there. Oh, he's in top tier for me.
And his matches, I guess some people could say his matches are a bit samey at the minute. But wait until he gets a proper challenger. Who I think Eddie Kingston is the new name being teased about at the moment. So maybe that could be the one.
Oh yes.
To go Stone Roses, that could be the one. That could be the one he's been waiting for.
Are we going to drop any more Manchester bands throughout the course of this
if you
video?
want to, yeah. Happy Monday.
The Laws.
I was about to say something weird there. He was twisting Lana's melons, man.
Happy Monday's reference, though. I got it.
Yeah,
Don't worry, everyone.
Don't worry, everyone. Taz!
Taz.
It's Taz.
It's Taz.
It's Taz. Started life as a commentator on AEW Dark. He still does that to this day, of course. Wonderfully so with Excalibur. That's the highlight for me for Taz in AEW. But he's also good, but in a different way, as the de facto father. Well, not de facto in one case.
Father.
In one case, the exception, of course, the de facto father of all of Team Taz, I should say.
So he's the de facto father of Hobbs,
He's the actual,
Starks, and not
formerly
Cage. Anymore.
Cage, he's cast adrift to the adoption agency.
But the actual father of Hook.
The actual father of Hook.
Yeah.
What do you think of Taz?
Top tier for Taz, you know, for me.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go there.
I think he won the Culty Award one year for best
non-wrestler.
Wrestler, potentially, yeah. And I think that's fine. I think that's true, because Taz has always been such a good commentator, even back when he was on SmackDown and stuff.
Yeah.
He's been brilliant, and he's still really good in AEW. He's learned very quickly so many wrestlers and so many moves and he's just on the ball all the time. And, which I find great, he's not afraid to have a laugh.
No, he's not.
Dark.
And that's the great thing about it. Especially, sorry to go across the border once again, AEW fans, but that's a great thing about Pat and Michael Cole on AEW. I bring those up because Pat and Michael Cole's dynamic on SmackDown these days is very much Michael Cole and Taz from 2002 on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Just two lads. I guess Taz is a bit more of a heel back in the day, but just two lads having a good time watching the wrestling. But I guess Excalibur and Taz take that to new heights on Dynamite because they just on Dark, because they just openly mock professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to hear on some occasions.
Funny, yeah.
But I guess when you think of drawbacks to Taz, it's not really his fault. Because the main drawback for me, for Taz and Team Taz as a whole, is them going, we'll get you, Sting, but some other time. But I guess that's more the booking than what Taz was saying. Because when he was saying it, he was still doing it in a very good way.
Yeah, he always delivers. Call him the postman.
He's the postman.
He always delivers.
Who was that there? That's Paul White.
Oh.
That's Paul White in AEW. I'll never forget that afternoon being sat in the office where it just appeared on Twitter. Paul White is All Elite. That was weird. It still is weird. It still looks weird seeing Paul White on AEW, smiling with that incredible fake smile that he has.
Oh.
You know when he's doing the links on Revolution, he just goes
down
the camera.
It's a gun. It's a gun. I don't know yet. I don't know about Paul White yet.
Hopefully, he just flattens QT Marshall.
I
Because
think
while
we're gonna have a 5-star back and forth.
man alive, I don't think I can take it.
Big
don't
Show
think I
going
can
to be
take
doing
it.
his moonsault again, like in the 90s.
Why
Was
not?
it a moonsault he did?
Elbow drop.
It's going to be great.
He probably did a moonsault. He could do anything back in the 90s. Now he's got a titanium hip, so maybe the 90s could come back around once again. You never know. Hopefully he flattens QT Marshall in what are many, well, I say many, what I believe is more of a dark match than it is a pay-per-view match. But you can see why it's on the pay-per-view, because it's Paul White's return to the ring.
It's got him in it, yeah. It has to be on the main show. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. QT will probably do what he's meant to do, which is lose hard. And then I'll be more confident placing Paul White here, because I don't know where to put him now.
Because so far, I'm not much of a fan of the commentary, but then again, it's a hard thing to do, as everyone knows.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know what to say, yeah? I'm agreeing with you. It's a hard one to play. Shall we go?
I think bearable for now.
Bearable for now.
But it could all change.
I'm going to say the line again, everybody. We have just scratched the surface when it comes to Paul White and AEW. But that being said, I don't want to see him do too much of the wrestling.
No.
I've seen enough of the Big Show over the years, you know what I mean? Next up, we have someone who was a performance centre trainer turned AEW wrestling superstar and NWA Women's World Champion. It's Serena Deb.
Class.
World class.
Absolutely unbelievable pro wrestler. She is amazing. I can fully now get why WWE brought her in as a trainer, because the way she does everything is very, very technically sound. So you can just picture her trying to walk less experienced wrestlers through it.
Yeah.
And I think she's just brilliant.
I think she's amazing as well. It's a weird one because you can see, as you say, why they had her as a trainer, but then it makes you wonder, she's that good, why wasn't she a wrestler?
Right. Why didn't they get her in the ring?
Why wasn't she a superstar, sorry?
I hope it wasn't. And I hope it wasn't this, but did they maybe think she was getting on a bit? Which is rubbish, because she's in amazing shape. And she's just mint. I feel I'm gushing over Serena Deb, which is absolutely
it's a perfectly
unbelievable.
Good thing to gush over, don't you think? She has been fantastic. You think about the matches with Thunder Rosa.
Yes.
You think about the matches. Who was that one on the kickoff show? It was Alison Kay. Was it Alison Kay? Yeah, that one was good.
She had a good one with Shida.
Sheeta.
Yeah.
So many good matches.
She's had a good one with everyone, man.
Yeah, she's just very good, isn't she? And I guess when you think of maybe expectations maybe playing a part in where we're putting people in this tier list here, she's blown them all out the water, hasn't she? Any expectations we might have had? Because many fans, just like me, obviously heard she was a performance centre trainer, but obviously just knew her from the straight edge society back in the day, where she didn't get to do much wrestling.
Just had a head shave and that was it. Speaking of, what's happened to Mel?
I think she got released. I think she left them.
I feel bad now.
Maybe she didn't. Sam, Google Mel.
We've been told that Melanie has been successful in her day job and is doing well outside of wrestling.
Let us know what happened to Mel.
The Nightmare Family. Remember them?
Yeah.
In that stable.
Nightmare Collective. Very different from the Nightmare Family. The Nightmare Family are wholesome.
Yes.
Upstanding citizens.
Brandy's like the middle of that Venn diagram, isn't she? But the family and Collective.
The bit of the Venn diagram should get lost.
Is she top tier?
Yeah, why? She's been flawless in her performances so far.
Arguably,
on AEW.
she's actually been too good, because she's arguably made the NWA Women's Championship more prestigious than the AEW Women's Championship.
I think that's a really fair thing to say.
It wasn't my original thought. I think I nicked that from someone else.
No, you can claim it. Take it.
Okay.
Yeah. Fight him if you're claiming that's your original thought. Look at him, terrifying. Sting made arguably the most surprising debut so far in AEW. Nobody knew it was happening. It was fantastic on that episode of Dynamite where the snow came down. I think Taz... Was that later on, actually, when Taz just let know of his disdain for the snow?
A little bit later when he's like, oh, God.
The bloody snow. The shocking debut. Not so much of a fan of the no selling through the tables, I've got to be honest with everybody. You should be selling that, Sting. I don't care if you are Sting and a guy who got me into professional wrestling. I've said that so many times on the channel back in the day. But yeah, what else we're thinking here? The repetitive nature of the Team Taz feud wasn't my cup of tea. No. Team Taz come out, Sting comes out. Oh, we'll get you, Sting. Ah, here's me bat. We'll run away. We're Team Taz.
All of us.
Scared. Yeah, all of us.
Cage and Hobbs in that stable, two of the biggest lads on the roster.
But Sting had a bat.
He did, and he's Sting.
Yeah, and he had a bat.
Since being paired with Darby Allin, though, I'm enjoying his role now more than I was. I enjoyed the bit with Orange Cassidy, the little chest bumps, and it was all good.
That's been the good thing about it. He seemingly, because I don't know if Sting ever had that sort of reputation, but he's really buying into the younger people on the roster and getting involved with their stuff. So he's up for anything. He's game for out, as we would say up here in Newcastle upon Tyne.
I think though, that I don't want to put him too high. I think all right for Sting.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
How could it have been better if you're going to go all right?
Well, I just think that early feud with Team Taz was a bit
Bit
disappointing.
of a drawback, yeah. But the cinematic match was good.
That was all right. That was cool.
His return to the ring was outstanding. I don't think anyone expected him to be doing jumping off the... Let's
him
put him
up
up the
one.
lovely,
Push
lovely,
him up
lovely,
one.
yeah.
Go on.
The feud with Taz is keeping him out of top tier, because I think that's the perfect thing about the way he's been used, is that while he has beaten a few members of the younger members of the roster, they haven't been prominent members, like 2.0, as good as they are, and as glowing as we spoke about them earlier, I think they aren't going to come to too much, maybe.
They'll have a role in AEW.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, they're not going to be main eventers.
Not going to be the figurehead of any divisions or anything like that.
So I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
You always need, as much as we like to see legends put over younger people, sometimes you need to maintain their legendary status. And you do that by beating,
jobbers.
lesser folk.
Jobbers.
No.
And the partnership with Darby's working. I know that the crux of it are just, we've both got face paint, let's be father and son. But it is working, isn't it?
Sometimes you don't need to complicate things too much in wrestling.
No.
All the fans on Twitter were saying, why don't we put Darby with Sting? And Tony Khan went, just put Darby with Sting.
Both got face paint, both a bit spooky. There you go. I think Sting's been great so far in AEW. That Team Taz rivalry aside. Next up we have Christian Cage, who is still undefeated. How many months has it been since he rocked up? The debut was a bit of a weird one.
The debut was weird because that was TK's fault.
That was Tony Khan's fault, yeah.
He was like, we thought it was going to be CM Punk then. It's the most legendary, bestest acquisition ever, guys.
It all made sense up until the final thing he said, and it was like, what was it? One of the biggest stars ever. Which Christian, he's up there.
Was it like one of the biggest stars available? Was it ever?
Something like that.
I mean, Christian's great. I love Christian.
Oh yeah,
but he's not. It was overhyped.
But the thing he said, the last thing he said allowed people to go, oh my God, it's John Cena or Brock Lesnar or CM Punk or someone like that. But the debut was a bit weird. Then we go forward and just the wrestling. While his catchphrase is outwork everyone, and there are still members of the rosters who are outworking him by having more matches. When he does have a match, it's a throwback style. It's very different to everything else on the card, which I appreciate. I like different things being on the card. And it's also like he hasn't been away from the wrestling.
I was about to say, it's also very, very good.
Yeah.
It's very good in the ring. Very, very good indeed. I'm just trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But he is. If you watch his footwork, it's immaculate.
Yeah. All the wrestlers speak about Christian's footwork being immaculate, and I don't. It's good. Like, he's twinkle-toed.
Oh, yeah.
Aye. If he went on Strictly Come Dancing, he would certainly come in the top 3.
This is ballet.
He would certainly get more than just a 7 off Len. If Len is still there. Is Len still there?
I don't know.
I don't watch Strictly Come Dancing anyway.
I think Alicia Dixon might be.
Alicia Dixon?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh,
From
man.
Mystique.
I remember the ballet.
So scandalous.
Aye. The ballerina isn't he? Darcy Bustle.
Yeah, Darcy. Yeah.
Good old Darcy.
Christian. Well, his recent match where he beat Kenny Omega was class as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with it because I'm still wanting Hangman to be the one who beats Omega. So I was a bit sad that Omega lost before Hangman comes back and they reignite his push. They light the fuse Dynamite.
Yeah.
But if they were going to do it anyway, that was a good way to do it.
I think they backed themselves into a bit of a corner by having the 2 matches back to back, because if he loses the first one, you're just going to think he's going to lose the second one, so they sort of had to create that bit of jeopardy for Kenny Omega by having him lose the first one.
But now we can't. I mean, I'll be very surprised if he wins.
Oh, I'd be very shocked.
Oh, very much so.
Very shocked.
But I think it'll still be a good match.
Yeah. How much do you think he's getting too much of a push?
Well, he's very prominent, isn't he?
Aye.
But he like what AEW has done really well, like a lot of the legendary figures they've got, or veterans maybe. He's aligned himself with a group. So in this case, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. So I think that's all right for now.
Yeah.
And I think that if him and Jungle Boy have a match, maybe not necessarily one of them turning, maybe just a bit of a prove yourself kid. I think that would work as well. I think there's a lot of nice ways this could go.
I did like that moment, sorry to cut you off, with Jungle Boy at the end of that Battle Royal, where he put Jungle Boy over.
Yes.
But it doesn't go down as an official loss, I guess, because it was in a Battle Royal.
That's still good, though. He still sort of put him over.
Yeah.
I'm thinking lovely for Christian.
Way aye, chips and
Debut
pie.
aside.
Debut aside. That's what draws him back from the best tier. But he has been good so far. And then finally, we have Matt Hardy, who of course debuted on the same episode as Brodie, way back at the start of the pandemic era. We then learned that we need the crowd for the broken gimmick to work, which I think might be coming back after this week's Dynamite, as we're sat here on the 26th of August once again. On last night's Dynamite, he had his head squashed like a coconut by a flying orange. Cassidy, lying on his head on a crossbody from the top rope, and then he cut a promo, didn't he, in the corridors backstage, where he sort of hinted maybe at somebody dying and someone coming back, and this, that, and the other.
It was just, I just can't get the image of his busted nose out of my mouth, busted wide open. Matt Hardy, right, has been so unlucky in his AEW run.
Oh yeah,
he's had big moments, and I enjoyed his alignment with the Elite when they were good guys, and that was all good. But then the Hardy Family Office stuff, I need a bit, and you know what? Maybe there's content out there on YouTube and stuff that explains their allegiance more, but they're all on the payroll. But I don't think they're enough of a unit. Like, he's got Private Party and also Angelico and
well, he's a carny POS.
He's swindling them out of
He's
their
a carny POS, and he's hoodwinking these young up and comers by taking 30% of their paycheck every time.
But the Bunny's involved as well, and the Butcher and the Blade, they're all in. Is
more
Vicky,
money for
is
him?
Nyla Rose, are they involved?
More money for Matt.
Well, yeah, he's big money, Matt. But then there's been good things as well. And I really liked his little mini feud with Hangman over money.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
That's one of the highlights for me. The little contract backstage bit where
in the bar.
You know, it wasn't hammered home. Look at the background there. He switched it. It was nicely subtly done, and I think we all agree that's one of the strengths of AEW.
Yeah,
the subtle nature of certain bits they drop in throughout the storylines and whatnot.
More of that in wrestling, because subtlety in wrestling compared to subtlety in any other form of media isn't actually that subtle. It doesn't have to be really subtle. But it's just because it's wrestling and everything's blown up, and it just needs to be a little bit understated, and then it's really effective.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good example. But then he fell off the scaffold, Matt Hardy.
We've got to mention the stuff with Sammy. The first match where they went back, was it like a spear from Sammy? Then they went off backwards together, and then Matt stottered his head off the floor, as we would say. I can't stop saying Geordie colloquialism. Stottered his head off the floor, bounced it off.
They were meant to go through a table and they overshot it.
Overshot it a little bit, yeah. Which is it's a hard thing to try and nail, I guess, from such a height, trying to get on such a small thing as a tabla. But what else was there? Because there was another thing that
he threw a chair into his head.
Yes.
He's been banged around a lot.
Yeah, so it was a weird start where the broken match stuff, it played its part in that first Stadium Stampede, definitely. It had the moments in the swimming pool which made everybody laugh, and then the cart with Sammy running him down with Kenny Omega in the cart, that was fantastic. And I think the gimmick change, just because there was no crowds, was sort of necessary, and it's had its moments, but hasn't really got off the floor, has it?
I don't mind it. I think I'm looking at all right here for this.
I'll go all right.
Yeah.
It certainly had its moments, but it's certainly also, I guess, were we expecting too much again? Is this our fault that he's just an all right?
No, because he was really hyped in his debut. I don't think that one's our fault. I think some of them were guilty of overhyping in our minds before they do anything. But in this case, no, because he appeared at the top of the thing. He was teleporting in that. I think this one, the fans are not to blame.
So there we go.
Before we do the thing with the who's the best of all the things, what did you, because we've not put him in, there's a glaring omission, obviously, because he's not really done anything yet. But what do you think, how well do you think the CM Punk thing will go? I'm scared.
Why?
Because I think it's been so hyped that it's going to be really hard to live up to those expectations. I'm not saying that he can't do it. He's really good, but also when there's nothing for him to rebel against, what does he do?
Oh,
it's one for you all to ponder.
I think as we're sat here today, I think he's going to lose that match against Darby. I think he's such a fan of Darby. Just by, you go back to the social media posts from years ago. I say years ago, a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, something like that. Why he's such a fan of Darbs.
Darbs.
He gave him a nickname before he presumably knew him. Wow. Darbs. Well, all wrestlers know each other, but I think he's that much of a fan. I think he'll put him over, brother.
That would be huge.
Big statement. Then maybe that's where he turns into a bit of a dick. Because as we all know, CM Punk is much better, in my opinion, much better as a sort of like an edgy dick than he is a sort of pandering baby face.
I know.
He needs that bit of edge to him, doesn't he?
But he does, but I think he's still got that edge at the minute because he's just so cool. And everyone's really happy to see him, and he's great.
Yeah, it will be good because he needs that what's the albatross. Is that what I'm trying to say?
From around his neck?
Yeah, and he needs to try and pull that off from around his neck. That was Vince McMahon back in the day.
He needs a chip on his shoulder.
That's what I'm looking for, a chip on his shoulder.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
Albatross and chips.
Anyway,
easy mistake to make. So let's just go through the tiers, and just about bearable for the AEW run so far. We have Andrade scratching the surface. Good brothers, they're there in the background. Shawn Spears, frustrating. Could have been better. Maybe should have been better if things like a pandemic didn't get in the way. Mark Henry hasn't really done much yet. 2.0, much the same. Then we have Paul White, has his big match against QT Marshall coming up. But we scratch the surface once again. All right, we have Ty Conti, scratching the surface once again. Money Matt Hardy. Blah, don't know what to say there.
Mixed
to sum that one up. Mixed bag. Lovely, lovely, lovely. FTR certainly had their moments. Malachi Black being flipping lovely so far. Nearly swore there. Sting's just been fantastic, Team Taz aside. Christian Cage hasn't lost a step. In the best, we have Brodie, then we have Jon Moxley, we have Miro, we have Taz, and we have Serena DB.
Yeah.
Let's try and find out now who is the best of the best in terms of their defection, to use a clickbaity title, from WWE to AEW. Changing armies, going from one army to t'other to fight the army they were once a part of.
Well, straight away, I'd say that. Hang on now. Wait a minute. Who's that next to Serena Deb there? I can't quite. Taz. I'd say he's bottom of it just purely because he's not wrestling.
Go on then.
I don't think that's too much of a knock on him. He's still class.
It's a weird one with Brodie in there. Let's be honest.
We have to.
Let's acknowledge Brodie. Let's just go. Is Miro in AEW so far better than Jon Moxley in AEW so far?
I think I've got to give it to Moxley slightly because he's done a bit more.
Deb over Moxley?
Deb over Miro.
Deb over Miro?
Would you disagree with that? I don't know. It's really close.
I love Miro today.
Yeah.
I would personally go Miro above Deb because I think Miro has been more featured, which I guess it's not really her fault, is it? That's just where AEW does it so far. The men are more featured than the ladies. I think that's a fair
Especially
criticism.
because for a lot of it, she was coming out from a different promotion as well. She wasn't featured as much as, say, like Shida. Yeah,
but it's up to the guest. If you want to put Deb above Miro, I'll go for it.
I'll keep it there for now, but I think that before long, Miro's going to have a great time. So
there we go. We've come to the end. We just have to note as well, this tier list is coming around because there's many rumours flying about at the moment. The likes of Bryan Danielson, Ruby Soho. Any more?
The Fiend.
The Fiend. Braun Strowman I've seen mentioned from time to time.
Adam Cole,
baby.
He might be there by the time this goes out.
Wow. We'll have to come back in 6 months or so with all these brand new debuts and do this one again and see how the new names are doing. That's the beauty of the tier list. I've been Gary YouTube from Cultaholic Wrestling, joined by yet another of those Gary YouTubers. Any closing remarks?
No, I've just had a nice little time there.
Here's a question for you though. When or how many releases from WWE is too much for AEW to sign up?
I think that's...
Where's the tipping point happen where they see someone massive get released but they know, no, we've got too many wrestlers now, we just can't do it?
I think that's an interesting question, but also an impossible one to answer. Because they've got so many shows, but also they're signing big names, aren't they, who are all going to need... And there's not enough space for all of them even now. So maybe they're approaching that very, very quickly. What I will say is, it's going to be hard for them to shake off this image of just hiring WWE cast-offs. Because obviously, when AEW was first established, WWE decided to hire all of the indies. So it's going to be hard, but I'm excited nonetheless.
Yes, exciting times ahead. What a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan. Thank you for watching. That's it for this tier list. We'll see you on the next one, whenever that bloody happens, eh? I've got no idea, do you?
No.
Nah, see ya.